Let's talk validation. Leslie Wells, connection coach here. I help individuals stay really connected in their romantic relationships, and I help them to overcome any major disconnections that have happened from major events or a lot of little events that have been going on for a really long time in their committed relationships. So validation does not equal agreement. If you validate somebody's experience, that does not mean that you agree with their perception. It does not mean that you are taking blame or accountability for things that you do not believe you should. It does not mean that you are saying that person is right and you are wrong. You're not claiming any of that. Validation simply means I see you, I hear you, and I really want to do my best to understand where you're coming from and how you feel. Not validating someone can really trigger their wounds. So if we take a fearful avoidant, for example, fearful avoidance, very much their core need is to be seen, heard, and understood on a very deep level. They really want you to know them as a person way beyond the superficial and to understand their pain, their experiences, all of those things really well. Too well. No one can completely 100% understand your perspective because it's not their perspective and they have different experiences and they experience things differently. That's the work of the fearful avoidant. But typically our dismissive avoidants are the ones that are really not good at validating. They don't hold space for their own feelings, and so taking on other people's feelings is very difficult for them. The dismissive avoidant also walks around with a defectiveness wound, feeling like they are a failure. And so when someone brings them a concern or a need, they don't hear the person's pain, the person's emotions, the person's need. What they hear is confirmation that they are in fact defective and they are a failure and they've missed the mark again. So their wounds are triggered. So if you have a fearful avoidant that brings a need to a dismissive avoidant, typically the dismissive avoidant will either deflect with facts or rationale or logical thinking. When a person comes to you, by the way, with their feelings and their experience, they don't want a cliche, they don't want facts, they don't want you to point out the obvious. They want you to be able to try to put yourself in their shoes and understand their actual experience and what's going on for them. So a fearful avoidant brings a dismissive avoidant their problem. Typically they will deflect, like I just said, with logical reasoning, facts. A lot of times they will also go into defensiveness because, again, their wound has been triggered of not being good enough, failing, not meeting the mark. So that defensiveness can be things like they push back and say, you're just too sensitive, or you always have a problem, or you overreact to everything. And that's really because you've triggered them at that point. The other thing that they will typically do is go into a shutdown, withdraw, disassociate. That is like the complete opposite of validation. Once they do that, the other partner automatically feels like that person does not care at all. They are not concerned. They are not empathetic. They have just left me alone in this. So typically when somebody brings you a problem, they are struggling and they usually need co-regulation, which is completely normal in a relationship. In a healthy relationship, you should be able to both self-regulate and co-regulate with your partner, and it is your duty to help them through that whenever you can. There are times you're gonna have to do that alone, but typically a good, healthy relationship requires a mix of both of those things. So once you've shut down on your partner, you are not able to co-regulate with them when they literally came to you with the goal of being able to help them co-regulate. And so all of that to say that not validating someone leaves them alone in their experience. And when you are with someone as a couple in a healthy relationship and they bring you a problem, they really just need your validation. That is a good way to just say to them, I see you, I hear you, I'm gonna do my best to understand you. And it's as simple as that.